Rises like the sun, yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooters gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I won, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine, yeah. Everything I do, I'm just being genuine, yeah. I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline, yeah. I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I have so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine, yeah. Everything I do, I'm just being genuine, yeah. I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline, yeah. I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back, yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one.
Talk about ditching the HCG. Yeah, boys, look, I mean, as I alluded to, there's some YouTubers that have gotten me to think about this, and my client work has got me to think a lot more about this. I've historically always brought HCG into everybody's regimen because it's always been very useful. I can tolerate the stuff fine, but I have to manage estrogen on it, right? I mean, that's the thing. It can become problematic if you can't manage estrogen, and some people can't on HCG, whether it's with AIs or with whatever. You know, AIs are usually the most problematic because it doesn't really affect the intratesticular aromatase expression. AIs, right? So it can become problematic. And look, the number one problem people have on TRT is estrogen, is estrogen. I know a lot of people have been listening in the pro-estrogen camps, and I'm here to tell you they're wrong. They're wrong. They're just wrong. They're not wrong that estrogen is good for you, like at a certain level. They're not wrong that you need some of it for a libido. They're not wrong about that, but they are wrong that you should let it go. They're wrong that you never have to manage it. And they're also wrong in misattributing like problems that people have on TRT to something else when estrogen's the glaring indicator of the problem. It's the problem itself. So HCG is just estrogenic. Now there's also this potential for another mechanism here, which, perplexes people like Dave Lee, and I haven't really been able to find. But the only other mechanism here, in addition to estrogen, which we know causes problems for guys on TRT, is that I think HCG might agonize progesterone receptors. I've got to follow up on some early research that I found regarding that to prove that or disprove it or whatever. But that's a possibility there too. So listen, for those of you that can't dial in with HCG in your protocol, plenty of people don't use HCG and they're fine. The testicles shrink. Yes. Are there other issues like sensation loss? Well, it really all depends on the person. You know, taking DHEA and pregnenolone is going to help you in that department greatly. And if you're really worried about fertility, look, Proviron was made for fertility. And I've got some early information and some early anecdotals that DHT itself might be a good sub for HCG. There's also gonadorelin, which is not estrogenic like HCG is, you know, and gonadorelin does work for some people, despite what you're going to hear, the general message that it's weaker and you got to take it a lot and whatever. It does work for people. Let's talk about infrequent injections, boys. Okay, so I have been the one to popularize the use of longer esters in an infrequent manner, particularly because I find that when you're just dumping testosterone on top of testosterone on top of testosterone in micro amounts every day, you get more estrogen than you bargained for and not enough fucking testosterone. Whereas, and you squash your SHBG, which is fine for some people, but not fine for others. Whereas if you inject your test enanthate every fourth day, you get a trough in estrogen before your next injection, and estrogen can't just build up at the tissue level like it would when you're doing everyday sub-Q injections of fucking enanthate or something. So it ends up giving people a break, a better testosterone estrogen ratio, and there they get their libido back, you know, and you're also more anabolic and you're fucking strong. You feel really good for those first like 2 days, as enanthate, as an example, is peaking. So again, just reiterating, you might want to consider, if you're using a long ester, injecting less frequently. It is almost always proven to be better, you know, except where people can't tolerate it, which is always their health. And you've got to get to the bottom of that. Okay. So in the meantime, again, source list, most popular product ever. I mean, look, again, the selling point is I just got like 8 vials of enanthate to my door in fucking 4 days. And you could get 8 vials of prop to your door in 4 days, or anything that you want. It's sometimes necessary to circumvent your clinic when they can't help you or they can't prescribe you what you need. Some guys are going to do better on higher levels of testosterone. Your clinic's not going to let you go there. So not to mention the use of Proviron, DHT, everything else you can think of on the source list. You can get that at livecortex.com. Our most popular product by far. Here's a Physique update. It's kind of where I'm at right now. You know, under the condition of good lighting and somewhat of a recent pump. This is in about noon or something, just after the gym. So I had a good pump going. I'm intermittently trying to put on a little more fat at some times. So I guess I'm, maybe a little chubby around the midsection, but it is helping me to build muscle along with the testosterone. Still running about 550 or whatever it is a week. I'm now splitting that up and what am I doing? 150 of enanthate every third day and then 40 of prop every day. So that's where I'm at right now. Feel real good. Estrogen control is actually fucking easy on that. And that's where we're at, boys. Feeling strong. All right, let's get to questions. And let's start the chat. Good morning. All right, cool. Glad you're here, man. Glad you made it. We don't always do these at the time that is useful for everybody, but glad you made it. All right, Revizi. Not feeling anything from test prop. I may have PSSD, but I don't know. All right, brother. You got to be a little more specific than that. Can DHT gel fix PSSD issues by upregulating the AR? Nope. You're thinking too simply about this. I've been over this. You need a complex protocol for PSSD. It's not just about using DHT on the genitals. That's only going to act, well, it's going to act somewhat locally and somewhat systemically, but I mean, there's a bigger picture to solving the problem. Not the least of which is you're going to need some testosterone in the picture, brother. Fluffy the Chubby, good morning. Love using Proviron and DHT powder. That DHT powder is something the fuck else, isn't it, boys? But how do I take care of my SHBG since it's getting too low using either Proviron and HCG even on low dose a few times a week? Well, is it a problem? What do you mean? Is it getting too low and there's some symptom, or is it getting too low and you've been reading, you've been watching the internet too much and you're worried about that? Dude, I mean, I know guys at 7 SHBG functioning fucking awesomely. Okay. So, low SHBG isn't always a problem unless it becomes a problem and you're sure that you can attribute your effects, side effects or whatever to that lowered SHBG. It's really not a problem. So there is no way to raise it, in this case, other than to stop taking Proviron. I don't know the extent that DHT will lower SHBG because it has a much less affinity for the SHBG compared to Proviron. That's proven. Proviron is a way higher affinity. it will always lower SHBG and increase free testosterone. Jay Brody, why take calcium D-glucarate 2 to 3 times a day and not all in one dose? Because it clears a lot of other hormones too, including cortisol. So, I mean, if you don't want some sudden drop in cortisol and then suddenly you're feeling fucking tired and you can't figure out why, then don't take bolus amounts of calcium D-glucarate. Yeah, I can only really tolerate, I mean, if I dose a gram at a time, I would have to be dosing a lot of testosterone in order to make that work, like to feel good. And, you know, you also don't want to take the estrogen too low too fast. I mean, this is what the part of the problem with AIs, you know, and start pissing out all your fucking water. And look, other hormones get glucuronidated. So it's like, is aldosterone getting glucuronidated? Is antidiuretic hormone getting glucuronidated? So that when you take calcium D-glucarate, you're shuttling those out of the system fucking faster. Well, you know, then you're going to fuck up your water balance. There's all manner of problems with that. So quite honestly, also, when you're talking about releases of testosterone from the depot and thus conversion to estradiol, it happens in a pulsed manner unless you're dosing prop. And even then, so it still pulses, but it just pulses faster and higher. So rather than like unevenly taking a lot of CDG, which might fuck your balance up, you kind of want to do it throughout the day in line with the pulses of the release of test from the depot and the conversion to estradiol. That's why, brethren. AB, good morning. Was curious. It seems that 9-BBC inhibited both MAOA and B. Do you think this could possibly cause issues with too much serotonin sticking around? Only if you're taking a heavy serotonergic, and by heavy serotonergic, I don't mean like 5-HTP. I mean serotonin drugs. Yeah, only if you're taking those drugs would I really be concerned about that. I do not think it increases serotonin. No, not making you make more of it. You probably keep a little more around the synapse, but it's not major. It's more of a dopaminergic and a mild monoamine oxidase inhibitor is what it really is. Nico's asking about DHT powder. Listen, I have found it to be the case that I can get the same effects in just putting it in a enteric coated capsule, which opens up a little further down the digestive tract than just right in your stomach, which is probably good to protect it from stomach acid fucking with the material. And versus olive oil, it's the same. It's really the same. Sublingual is going to be in and out faster. You'll probably peak quicker, so it'll be very short-lived of an effect. At least a noticeable cognitive effect. There'll be longer term effects on the, the reproductive tract, basically. So just take it orally in a capsule. Revisi, who has likely an SSRI-induced endocrine problem. Why am I not growing from steroids after SSRIs? Don't know. I don't know the doses of anything you're taking. You're asking two general questions, and you need context, and you should super chat them so we can actually get into them. Dream big. Taking PT-141 2 to 3 times a week for 2 years straight. I feel great, but I do have concerns about that small dopamine being released in the brain. Listen, if your dopamine is kind of coming back in a commensurate way and you don't feel depleted dopamine symptoms, then I think you're fine. It's just, not everybody can't continuously take PT-141. As just some people can take it, every third day and be fine, but a lot of people, the effect just wanes because you're not building enough dopamine to put up with all the release of dopamine that PT-141 is executing. So, I mean, if you've been doing that for 2 years straight and everything works great, then I wouldn't change a thing, brother. Wouldn't change a thing. Brethren, Orhan, DHEA is 480, top of the range, already dialed in. Does it make sense to add some DHEA supplementation while already being on TRT? Only if you feel like you could use a little more libido, which would partially be driven by the estradiol that DHEA is going to make you build, but also driven by the intrasex organs, specifically intrapenile DHT that it makes. You make. DHEA is actually one of the only, as far as I can tell, it's the only documented compound that makes you make more DHT in your penis. So I might want to think about that. Not 5AR. Listen, again, I'm not going to answer any more of your questions. Super chat something comprehensive with some context, and then we can talk about it. Oran also stopped taking HCG, and E2 is finally within range with less aromasin use. So here we go again about this. I can't get away from this because I got fucking blasted with emails after I did that video, and then the secondary follow-up video of people like, should I just remove my HCG? It's fucking causing problems. I can never dial in on. I haven't been dialed in a year. My erections are weak. I'm given, usually in a consulting capacity, some of these people advice, and they're removing the HCG and things are getting better. I don't have a problem with HCG. I dose 500 IU every other day in most cases. Like when I was on lower doses of test, I think I was dosing 100 IU every day. It really never was consequential for me personally, but I also strictly manage estrogen, and I do it, in a variety of ways, not just with the use of AIs, but with CDG and grapeseed extract and chrysin and a little bit of zinc. And so I think that's how I'm getting away with being able to tolerate it. Plus, I just think it affects people differently. Like some people, HCG is going to, potentially agonize their progesterone receptors. Again, I have to go follow up on that research, but it looks like that's a potential mechanism for why people have problems with it. Either way, HCG is estrogenic. HCG is estrogenic, And so, yeah, it might mean that you'll have no fertility, but it also could mean that you remove it, things get better, and you use Proviron or DHT, maybe take some soy lecithin, all these things to keep load size functional and fertility relative to Proviron, and then you're better off. There are plenty of people that just go to the testosterone subreddit and type like HCG bad or quitting HCG, and you're going to find a lot of people do quit it because they couldn't dial in with it, and then they feel better, and then they're fine. They're fine. If you have source list download limit reached, just email me, ryan@livecortex.com, with your order number so I can get you a new copy of it. Fluffy the Chubby, SHBG is definitely not a problem. Feeling amazing. Okay, great. So this is a guy that's, I think, on running DHT as well as Proviron and some test prop, and was worried about SHBG being low. It is, in fact, low, but it's not causing symptoms. There you go. Yeah, there you go. It doesn't always cause symptoms if it's low. I haven't seen it cause symptoms rarely ever when it's low. Except for higher free testosterone, which is usually good, boys. All right, when the racetams offer the most torque, what can racetams offer that torque cannot do? Well, torque is a predominantly Adderall-like energy-like state, like energy-like stack, whereas racetams, they force you to release choline in your brain in functional complex processing regions like your hippocampus. So torque is not going to do that, although it will increase choline, and we don't really know where it's going to increase choline. So that's the major difference, is what I would say. Darren, how long does it take to dial in calcium D-glucarate? 3 days into 500 and 10% ED improvement. 500 a day. What I would say is probably you might need about 1,000, you might need 1,500, and you're probably going to need to break that up, into 500 3 times a day or 4 times a day, or maybe 300 5 times a day, something like this. And because this stuff works quickly. It works quickly in, removing some excess estrogen. So that's going to have a positive effect on erectile quality if you've been having boner issues, because estrogen's the problem here. But it happens fast, so you probably don't have the right dose. Again, as I've said, you could keep the dose the same, and if you're taking HCG, you could try removing it. Because you'll drop. Again, on 210 of tests, cypionate, doing daily microinjections, my estrogen was 35 with no HCG. When I brought HCG in, I took my dose down to 168. So that's a fucking 40 milligram a week difference. I brought in HCG at 250 IU every day, and my estrogen went to 55 on a lower dose of test. So you might want to consider doing that if that's low hanging fruit here. If people are having problems with estrogen on TRT, just remove the HCG, take some Proviron for fertility, and guarantee that problem is going to be resolved for a lot of those people. What's up, Rackbull? Hope you're great, man. 110 milligrams of test, eat twice a week. Okay. Total T is 1250. I bet that's on your peak, right? DHT 110, E270 on 0.125 Arimidex twice a week. how much would you raise the Arimidex dose? Are you on HCG? Are you on HCG is the question. If you can tolerate Arimidex, then just do 0.25 twice a week. Yep, and that'll probably take down to the 30s. Yeah, if you're on that much Arimidex, which is not a lot, but it's I mean that shit's a fun. Arimidex is a powerful drug. Then like, and your E2's at 70 still, then you could get away with taking 0.25 twice a week. And you know, at this level of everything here, it's probably just going to take it down to the 30s or 40s, which is going to be much better for erections and stuff. If you don't have any erection issues, don't do anything. You know, are you having problems? That's the question. All right, Ferric. Okay, so you've got PFS. You're on 250 milligrams of Test E, 60 milligrams Primobolan, reduced from 100 weekly. Every other day injections. 60 milligrams of Primobolan a week, doing every other day injections plus HCG 500 IU every other day. Feel anxious ED is worse on injection day, and on HCG days it's okay. What to do? Switch to daily injections with lower doses. No, do not do that. That's the opposite of what you want to do. I don't know what your... If I were you, I would run 150 of Test Enthate every 4th day. I would remove the Primobolan because it's obviously not helping you. I would remove the HCG or take it down to something like 50 IU a day. And then I would bring in between 500 and 2000 milligrams of calcium D-glucarate split up throughout the day, and up to 25 milligrams of zinc per day. That's what I would do if I were you in this particular case. Yeah, I think you're having ED because your estrogen is probably too high. That's almost definitely the case. You know, Primo 60 weeks on 250 is not going to take the estrogen low enough, although you're not giving me labs here, so I can't tell. Oh, here's your bloods. It looks like estradiol 38, SHBG 12 before lowering Primo. SHBG and E2 were too low before starting any treatment. Estradiol was 35. SHBG was 34. So your estradiol's at 38 now, while having higher Primo in the picture. PFS people over aromatize, so that could be you. You might be over aromatizing because your pathway to convert testosterone to DHT is inhibited via having shitty 5-alpha reductase enzymes, 5-AR2 specifically. So that is something that you want to consider. Upregulating those enzymes is a matter of taking oral DHT, and you will upregulate those enzymes. But, you know, do my suggestion and then go from there. But, you know, this may take several adjustments. When you have PFS, it's a pretty complex condition where you got to get both the test dose right. You have to determine whether or not an AI is needed, or if you respond shitty to an AI, you have to determine whether or not HCG is useful or harming you. You have to determine whether or not you need higher estrogen or lower estrogen. It's fucking all over the, you know, it runs the gamut with these folks that have this. I don't think your SHBG is really an issue at this point, though. Dream big. Where does your DHEA and pregnenolone level sit on your Quest labs? DHEA is top of the range. Pregnenolone is about the middle of the range. Last time I checked. Daryl Foot. Test E only 135 milligrams a week. Feel like something is missing, or I could be feeling better. High aromatizer. Would it be worth adding HCG? SHBG low side of normal. It would be worth adding DHEA and pregnenolone. Yeah, it would be definitely worth adding that. Between 20 and 40 milligrams DHEA a day, 20 to 30 milligrams pregnenolone a day. But yeah, I mean, where are your estrogen numbers? You have to figure out where those are. I wouldn't quite bring in HCG now, because that's probably going to, if you're aromatizing, that's going to exacerbate that situation. If you're dosing this all at once, I'd probably leave it alone and maybe dose a second dose of 135 though, you know, per week. That's going to raise the estrogen, but, you know, use calcium glucarate to get it down, at least at the tissue level. In the meantime, maybe some zinc as well, maybe some chrysin. But no, I don't think that adding HCG would be useful at this point. If you're a high aromatizer, it'd be the opposite of useful. Yeah. So Rivzi got off an SSRI, my erection got better. I'm fine for the most part, but there's no libido behind it. Also been on TRT HCG since I started the SSRI. Okay. So what's your question? You want to follow up with a question there? Again, when I said super chat out, I didn't mean super chat me $4 and give me next to no context. Super chat $50 if you want to like have me dive into this. Like, and if you don't have the money, I don't know what the fuck you've been doing for the last 10 years of your adult life. I'm sorry, man. We're all men here. That's tough love, brother. PBB, your opinion on Clomid without TRT or HCG, only Clomid? I think that it's damaging to your eyesight. I think we know it can be. I also think, there's a greater propensity for blood clots taking that versus HCG. I don't think if you're doing monotherapy, either of them are very useful. Like, I just think get on TRT, decide whether or not you need HCG, and manage your estrogen. And take the ancillaries like DHT and pregnenolone, and you'll be in a lot better of a place. Steve Strong, is source list within the US only? No, I've been over this probably 20 times, guys. You guys aren't watching my content enough, or you're skipping around. International and US domestic sources. That's the number one email I get. And I keep saying to people, I've told you guys, international sources and USA domestic. Yeah, I'd be a real dick if I launched a product that was only for the USA and I didn't tell you that. Air Dolphin, nice name. Looking great, dude. Thanks, brother. I'm 40. I'm running 160 a test C a week. Would DHT powder help or hurt cardio? This is a really good question. I do sports for context. Yeah. Because I not only notice cognitive benefits right away, the days I dose DHT. Today I dosed 38 milligrams of DHT orally this morning. It's like, it's like a nootropic. My brain turns on right away. But I noticed that like in, painstaking activities where like running on the treadmill, because it's like weather's been shitty lately, so I'm having to do that. It's easier. So I don't know if that's increased cardio or if it's just my brain's more resilient with more DHT in my blood. But I think that it couldn't hurt. It's not going to hurt. It ain't going to hurt your cardio. Again, I read this big long paper and I haven't done a breakdown of it on the channel, but I'm due for that. That explained that like DHT is necessary in pretty high concentrations for the function of the cardiovascular system. And that like being without HCG or being without DHT is probably detrimental to your cardiovascular system. So yes, probably going to get a pretty powerful effect. Matt Cap, if I crush Proviron pills, would that be raw DHT powder? No. That assumes that Proviron and DHT are the same thing and do the same thing, which they're not, and they don't, right? Just a simple, Google search of the mechanisms of Proviron versus the mechanisms of DHT powder would tell you, but specifically the mechanisms of Proviron. It's an AI, binds to the shbg with a much greater affinity than DHT, improves fertility markers, modifies androgen receptor binding domains. DHT does some of that stuff, but not to the same extent, and some of it doesn't do. I think DHT is an AI for like 4 hours. I honestly do. I think it inhibits aromatase for like a couple hours or something after dosing a normal dose. But whereas Proviron via the longer half-life, you're probably getting some aromatase inhibition a little bit all day. All day. Jay Brody, does calcium glucarate estrogen reduction carry on in the next day? I don't think so. I don't. I think, again, because if you're releasing testosterone from the depot pretty consistently and then you're converting to estradiol, over the course of a day, over the course of a 24-hour period, then you get this reduction in estrogen from using CDG, and then you just aromatize more and make more estrogen. That's kind of why you got to take it ongoingly. So I mean, on blood work, I have 91 estradiol. This is like, when I wasn't managing it for a few weeks on very high levels of testosterone, a bunch of calcium glucarate one day, and I went and ran estradiol labs 24 hours later, and it was 92. So it didn't move the serum, it moves the tissues. It changes the tissue level estrogen because you're excreting more estrogen out of your body, preventing reabsorption. So the tissue level of estrogen is going to change, which we can't measure. But also short half-life. So that's also why I think, I didn't have a major reduction at that point. Dose of Masteron from Night Ops and reviews that I plan on using. I don't know. I haven't thought about it a whole lot yet. When I get there, I'll be discussing. Yeah, I'll be discussing it. You know, if I bring it in, sure, it's in my wheelhouse. It's something that I think would be useful to try at least, and to determine, is it great estrogen control for me or isn't it? Is it problematic estrogen control? But we'll see. Peter Wrangler, does estrogen rise every day when pinning tests once a week? No, it'll rise in days 2 to 3, possibly days 2 to 4. Peaking mainly in that window, after which it's going to drop back down. That's how estrogen works. It won't stick around like after the peak of testosterone starts troughing. Your estrogen's not going to just be like higher than your, it's not going to skew your ratio. That estrogen's going to go down specifically because you're not converting a lot at that time, because you've already peaked on testosterone and it's exiting your system and half-lifing out. But also your liver every day works to clear estradiol, speed it up by calcium D-glucarate and you'll have it clear faster. Steve Wonderful, on Cypionate and 1 click of cream twice a day, DHT is 500. Trying to take Proviron for erections and libido. You can, but again, context, boys. Like, the reason that you would have libido problems here is that estrogen is just not where you need it to be, and or you're not taking DHA and pregnenolone with your regimen. Yeah. So you have to determine why your libido and erections are a little awry, and then if it's estrogen, then Proviron would be useful via being an AI and possibly modifying the ARs, but I don't think that's what you need in this particular case. Didn't you say that you're with Ryan Root's clinic and they put you on the click of cream and that helped libido, and now it's not helping? That's almost definitely estrogen. Mad Cap, I have PFS. I may have erections but no sensation. Him being will do nothing for that. Proviron, HCG, and Sigma from Gorilla Mind, T leveled over 1100 a week. Oh, nothing helps. What do you suggest? Remove the HCG, take DHA and pregnenolone. Maybe double the amount of nanograms per deciliter testosterone you have in your fucking blood. You PFS people need a lot more testosterone than other people. You've been androgen deprived for a long time, right? What do you think you might need after you've been androgen deprived for a while? Androgens. So, though I can't consult you over a comment here, I think you might get, you might want to kill that HCG, keep the Proviron. I don't know your doses, so I can't help you there. Maybe take that test up to 2000. Yeah, maybe take it up to 2000, but manage estrogen via calcium D-glucarate or aromacin if you can tolerate it. I mean, if people can tolerate AIs and you don't have side effects from them, take them. They're fucking useful if you don't have side effects. Nosy Blacklight, how long after your 200 milligram dose of DHT did you still have the benefits to orgasm? About 5 days or so, I want to say, after which it just started tapering down to like normal. But it was pretty crazy for 5 days. And that day I'd seen, that time frame, I'd seen this girl, this older woman that I date, twice, and also tested it myself a couple times. And so it was insane. Hector, do you have it? So, but just so people understand, I did a mega dose of 200 milligrams of DHT and my ejaculate volume fucking grew proportions bigger than it usually is. My climaxes were easier to obtain, and the climax sensation was like, on a level of 1 to 10, it was like 15 or something, or 20. It was very, very superficial. I've not felt climaxes that good before. I don't think ever in my life. Even when I was natural and everything was just normal, it was something else, man. So just something for folks to think about. I don't know about crypto wallets. Yeah. I wouldn't have a suggestion on which is better. I think Robinhood is like the most classic one. Rivsy's question is how do I know if this is PSSD? Don't feel anything from TRT or prop. Mastron made me horny for 3 days. Genitals are fine, but how do I? Brother. Did you take an SSRI? Would be how you know. If you took an SSRI, like sertraline or citalopram, mainly those are the offenders, but others I think can cause this too. then that's your indication that it's PSSD. Feel nothing from prop. What's your estrogen, dude? It's not, you people have to stop thinking so simply about this. Oh, I just inject prop and my life's better. Well, fucking prop raises estrogen. You know, do you have DHA pregnenolone in your protocol, which everybody should at this point? Are you managing your protocol correctly? Is the dose too low? Is the dose too high? You can't just say I took a pill and didn't feel anything. Like people used to do this with nootropics and it pissed me off. I took aniracetam and didn't feel anything. Okay, then you shouldn't be taking nootropics because you don't understand any degree of what's happening with your physiology. Did you need to take some choline with it because it forces more choline in your brain to be released, which makes the effect more pronounced. Nuance, boys. Rivsy, don't super chat anything else, please, until you can get your questions together and you ask them, in a comprehensive way. Crypto Magic, injecting 2 times per week. Latest bloods had total T at 700. That's your trough. Okay. E2 at 139 molars per liter. Yeah, that's okay. I understand those units. Clinics prescribed an anastrozole to bring it down, but I think I've crashed it twice now. Yeah, you probably will with an anastrozole. I mean, that drug's very powerful. Yeah. The question really is how did you feel where you were? I mean, those numbers don't look bad to me. No, they really don't. And like, especially if you felt fine. If you felt fine and sexual function especially was fine, don't take that anastrozole, man. But if you like, yeah, you're crushing the estrogen with anastrozole almost definitely. And that's going to make you feel terrible. Wow. Also, what is your dose? Include more information, guys. Come on. DNAV was on HCG 750 a week. So this is just monotherapy or what? For 1 month and then increased to 1500 a week for another month. Didn't have much change in libido, if at all. Think about stopping HCG for now. Oh, you're running CPN8. Yeah, stop it. Totally. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't change anything, it's not doing anything for you except for just making the testicles probably a little more full and stuff. And load size might be better. But again, the problem with HCG for some individuals, which I've been forced to highlight recently, is that, listen, when estrogen goes above your range, and it just like, there's also some possibility that you're negatively affecting the testicular testosterone to estrogen ratio, highly in favor of estradiol, which could cause sexual dysfunction in and of itself. Then but either way, if estrogen is out of whack, like you're gonna have muted libido and muted erections. If you're one of those people that responds poorly to high estrogen, which is high 70-80% of men on TRT. So HCG is going to do nothing but, it'll give you fertility for most people, but it's also going to raise your estrogen a lot. It just does that. Again, I do fine on it because I can manage it. I have a bunch of tools to manage it, but not everyone has those tools or, can dose like Aromacin. I do fine on that stuff. Some people don't, man. It gives them fucking neck pain and joint pain, even on low doses. So, it really depends. If I were you, I'd fucking throw away your Cypionate. I would get on either Enanthate or Prop, remove the HCG completely, bring in a little bit of Proviron, DHA and pregnenolone, and have another go. AB with a big $19 super chat. Thank you, bro. On 40 Prop daily, want to add cream for penile action? What dose would you start at? Thoughts on IBC and then some crypto PM to counter serotonin. Crypto PM? Oh, Cipro PM? Okay, one thing at a time here. And yeah, again, don't try to squeeze 5 questions with minimal context into a super chat. Let's start with your prop. So you're on 40 milligrams of prop daily and you want to add cream for whatever reason, because penile action is not a reason. Penile action, no one knows what that means. For better erections, if that's what you're saying, what I would do is I would add, the first thing I would do is manage estrogen. I wouldn't add anything. That's what I would do. I would either take Aromacin, dial the dose in. If you can't tolerate it, take calcium glucarate, add DHA pregnenolone into your regimen, and then dial in on 40 milligrams of prop. If that doesn't work, you might need higher testosterone, in which case I'd rub on top of that 40 of prop. Start with 2 pumps a day on the testicles in the morning when you inject your prop. That's what I would say. Regarding Cipro, I think you might be referring to ciproheptadine. Yeah. No, I would not take 9-ABPC and then take ciproheptadine at the same time. Ciproheptadine is not the kind of drug that you want to recreationally use. To just like, lower serotonin or whatever. It doesn't lower serotonin. It antagonizes a couple of the serotonin receptors temporarily. It doesn't lower serotonin levels. So, that's not I wouldn't do that. That's a bad combination. Like ciproheptadine longer term is actually not good for your heart via one of the serotonin receptors that it antagonizes, like 5-HT2C or 5-HT2B. So no, that is an experiment not worth doing. And follow my instructions on your test protocol. ABS, I do one-off phone calls. Livecortex.com. Go to the consulting tab. Yeah, biohacking consulting page. We do TRT redesign calls where I will then create a document based on fact finding on the call of a protocol with sources for what you need, an entire purchase list if you need it, but a protocol laid out on tables, like tables, for you to execute. Jim, can calcium glucarate lower estrogen too much? Yes, it can. It can temporarily, but the next day you'll bounce right back if you're injecting. Or if you still have testosterone in the depot that's releasing and more estrogens being converted. But like if you're on one of these like Reddit doses of TRT, like 115 a week or something, then yeah, CDG, you probably don't need estrogen control at that point. But if you do, because some people do, then CDG might take it a little low for the day and you'll feel a little crappy. Yeah. Does estrogen ruin sensation? Too much will. Too much will make climaxes nearly impossible. Yes. Too much estrogen is going to make climaxes difficult. And it's difficult to say whether or not that's estradiol itself, because, yeah, there's a mechanism for that. But a more plausible mechanism would be transient prolactin increases. That makes sensation non-existent. Yeah. Even if the serum looks fine when you test it, maybe it's just a transient bump. When you ejaculate, you go 10 to 15 nanograms per milliliter over the range, and then you come back down, pretty rapidly after that. So you're going to be having transient increases in prolactin that won't show on the blood work because you're not getting to the bloods in time because it's back down by that point. But that's fucking with sensation in the interim. Winter R, is enclomiphene an effective monotherapy for testosterone increase? Yeah, it will increase your testosterone. If that's that's the answer to your question. If you're just asking, will it increase test? Yes. Is it ideal at increasing testosterone? No. There are better drugs to do that. HCG monotherapy would probably be a better option because without testosterone, you're not going to aromatize a lot to be problematic as long as the dose is kind of modest, maybe 2,000 IU a week, split up into perhaps every other day dosing. And then I think you would be just fine. I would use HCG over enclomiphene any day. Yeah, I would probably use like some test enhancing peptides over clomiphene. Yeah, that shit's just, it's a PCT drug at best. That's really it. Mike, this is a good question. Is it normal for Cialis not to work with high estrogen? Yes. Yes, brother. Yeah, if the estrogen's too high and your shit's fucked up, you're going to have nitric oxide impairment in penile tissue, which, PD5 inhibitors work on the basis of functional nitric oxide. So, if estrogen's inhibiting that via whatever mechanism it does to inhibit it, then Cialis is not going to work as well. Oh, yeah. Whereas you get the estrogen in the range you need it to be for your body with high enough androgens, and then you take 10 milligrams tadalafil, you're going to have fucking big boners, man. Rockin' erections, dude. Absolutely. It was less effective for me when estradiol was at 90. It's less effective for many of my clients over the years when their estrogen is too high. Yes, keep that in mind, please. Steve, wonderful. Estradiol's 99, SHBG 85 per Ryan stopped HCG a week ago. Adding progesterone cream today, half a pump. I wouldn't add that progesterone cream quite yet. Not sure why you're doing that, but I'm not consulting you on this. Yeah, just take pregnenolone. Don't take progesterone cream. That's going to inhibit your 5-alpha reductase enzymes, and I don't think you want to do that. I don't know who told you to do that. Zarfed. Hey, Ryan. Hope you're doing great. Nice gains. Nice progress. And this is where I'm at right now. Bam! That's like the best lighting I could ever have after a pump at the gym. I'm looking all right. I'm only about 4 months on a cycle, so we'll see. Still at 500 whatever, 560, I think, a week of testosterone. Feeling great. No side effects other than acne. Acne. It came about with the cream. I was using a lot of cream for a brief period, about 3 weeks, but acne on my shoulders, on my delt. I've never had acne on my delt, and it's literally taken a month so far, and it's still, I am having a difficult time getting rid of it. But that's the kind of shit that happens on cycle. That's the kind of shit that happens on cycle. You're going to run into that. But eventually, like with TRT, I had acne in the beginning and then it went away, after a while. It's really about keeping specifically estradiol stable and not having it peak and trough significantly. Then, that it was a lot better. But then jumping on higher levels of testosterone, I got acne again. So that's likely going to balance out. It might take a couple months and I'm cool with it in the meantime. When I'm naked with a girl, she doesn't seem to fucking mind. I'm knocking them fucking boots, brother. No, I saw your super chat, but it was contextless, and you're not doing anything for yourself, man. You ought to order an actual consult, man. Samuel, does too much estrogen? Oh, sorry. Does too much estrogen negatively impact dopamine? Yes, it inhibits dopamine in the arcuate nucleus of your brain, which is above your hypothalamus or around that area. Does Proviron lower sperm count or increase it? First, sperm count, I'm not sure that I've read up on that, but Proviron is an improver of fertility, likely sperm motility. And I think sperm count's one of the things that's on the studies on this. So yeah, it increases it. It increases it. And Proviron is really, really powerful for the reproductive system, boys. People that have problems with HCG could probably get away with taking Proviron with your TRT and you'd be fine. You might still stay somewhat fertile too. Johnny Pina is on 200 milligrams per milliliter of test prop, and the PIP is no joke. First of all, that concentration is usually it's 100 milligrams per milliliter, so that's probably one of your problems. Secondarily, though, inject in the glute. If you're going to inject any more than 30 milligrams of prop, and for some people 20 is a problem with PIP. Inject in the glute, not the ventral glute, not the quads, God forbid, with prop, not the delts. It's going to hurt as well. Yeah, inject in the glute with testosterone propionate. I can inject up to what the fuck was the highest? I think I injected 200 milligrams of prop, 100 in each glute, and then I got a little bit of PIP, but it wasn't major. But like the amount of prop I'm dosing daily now is 40 a day on top of 150 of Anathate every third day. So I have no PIP at all with that. But you got to inject in the glute, man. Don't inject anywhere else. Please don't inject anywhere else with prop. Dream big. What concerns would there be to run 0.25 milligrams cabergoline 1 time a week and definitely for HRT? The concern would be when you cumulatively get to the dose of about 300 milligrams, you could have heart chamber, heart valve problems, which are, reversed the moment you stop taking cabergoline. But the real question is, what reason do you have to do this if your prolactin isn't high? And if it is 0.25 once a week or 0.25 twice a week for 2 months, we'll get that down to very low levels. If you have a pituitary tumor causing you to have increases in prolactin, well, then you might need to take it for 2 or 3 years, where still you're probably not going to reach the cumulative dose that causes problems. Okay, AB with another super chat. Thank you, bro. Regarding cyproheptadine, it makes me feel great. Lowers anxiety, feel happier in general. Only issue is that it seems to lower motivation, hence the non-MBC consideration. I think that it's doing that because it's also a cholinergic receptor antagonist. So like you're blocking acetylcholine receptors at the same time here, which is going to make your brain work slower and you're going to feel less motivation. 9-MBC is not going to fix that. No, not going to fix that, man. I think that though you're getting some good benefits from the Cipro in terms of subjective feels, you need to find another way to reach that outcome, because the cyproheptadine is not a safe drug to consistently take. It's not. It's not safe to block your serotonin receptors consistently. It's just not. So if I were you, I would find another way to, lower your anxiety. Yeah, you have an anxiety problem. You got to get to the bottom of that. You've got to get to the bottom of that, man. All right, Piyush, does HCG desensitize your LH receptors? Now, I don't know about this. There is a couple pieces of literature in animal models where HCG reduced the amount of LH, FSH receptors in the testicles, which is downregulation of said receptors. So how that extrapolates to humans, it probably does. I think that you would have to, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this happens on 500 IU every third day. No, I think it's more likely to happen on these bigger doses that are given for fertility, like 10,000 IU a week and shit. But it still might happen at lower doses. Does it mean that it ends up being not effective? No, it doesn't seem to lose efficacy when it does this, or a lot of efficacy, but it can be a problem. And the literature does support that. Yeah. I mean, I know people that take HCG. There are people in the forums too. Works great the first time, first week, and then never again. It just causes high estrogen problems. So, I like HCG. It just adds to TRT for me. Like especially on cycle, when I'm shutting down further with higher doses of androgens. I like it. I like how it makes me feel. It doesn't fuck with my dick as long as I can control estrogen, which I always have to do in higher amounts with HCG in my protocol. I've taken it out before. I took it out to run pure DHT with TRT, and it was fucking awesome. The other time I took HCG out was when running Kisspeptin, where also everything was very awesome. So, it's certainly doable. What is the best way, Darren asks, to get random erections? I get none. The doctor says it's because I'm 60. Yeah, your doctor doesn't want to get into the details, unfortunately. Random erections happen when your hormone levels, your testosterone levels are pretty high for your body, and when estrogen is not very high, but still adequate. Yeah, and the rest of your DHEA, pregnenolone, like that system works well. Like you're pretty good on those bloods. And if you don't have hyperlactin, you're not ingesting kratom, you're not ingesting marijuana, you're not ingesting a lot of alcohol, which transiently increases prolactin. Those kinds of things. If you don't have insulin resistance or diabetes or these kinds of things, so I don't know what the hell is up with the rest of your health. So, that's I can't answer that question. The best way is to have your health bulletproofed as much as possible. And to, in our world, to be on TRT with HCG and estrogen control, or no HCG and no estrogen control, but with calcium D-glucarate to manage estrogen a little bit. DHA, pregnenolone on top of that. Enough testosterone. I mean, so many people's problems on TRT is they're just not taking enough because they're reading too much Reddit. And, that's that. So without enough context, I can't really answer that question. Yeah, if you want to just stick with 9-MBC for dopamine and stuff, then yeah, do that. It's not something you should take every day because we don't know enough about it. Dark Fitness, is there a correlation between calcium and prolactin? Low calcium diets increase it. Read something about on the Ray Pete. Well, those guys get into all manner of stuff that some of it's just postulating based on research that they did, and they're kind of just putting two things together that may not necessarily go together. I'm sure there's an interplay. I don't think it's a relevant one, or that would be all over the cabergoline literature or the pituitary adenoma literature or the prolactin literature. Does pramipexole do the same thing as cabergoline? Basically, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know about the antagonizing of the serotonin receptors, though, to the extent that it does, compared to cap. Jay Brody, if estrogen is in range, will prolactin still go up transiently? Well, only if something's causing prolactin to go up. Like the use of dopamine receptor blockers like kratom, or things that are highly estrogenic, meaning they agonize estrogen receptors like marijuana, or if you drink alcohol, a lot of it's going to transiently increase prolactin, or if you masturbate and ejaculate a lot, you're going to be transiently increasing prolactin, which is going to be problematic. So those are the things that really cause prolactin to go up. Estrogen will, but it's got to be pretty high and pretty consistently high. Then it's going to start contributing to that prolactin increase. Yeah. Winter, This was a world-ending erection, a phenomenon so impossibly unyielding I have expected NASA to call, asking for its trajectory to monitor potential asteroid collisions. And who was this from? Did you like say anything else prior to that? That you had taken something that made that happen? Otherwise, pretty awesome. Yeah, erections, I mean, it makes a guy, bro. Other than confidence, masculinity, assertiveness, dominance, facial hair. Zarfed, does your books talk about ashwagandha and hedonia? No. Yeah, I mean, it's a complex situation. You definitely want to get on hormones, though, and manage them. No, it's not some neurotransmitter problem. But 90 BBC might help. Never know. People might need calcium supplements. You never know. All matter of variations on how people metabolize stuff. Piyush, yeah, same problem about erections and libido. I too have almost none, even all the high test secondary mental characteristics like motivation and confidence, but I am 18 with 350 nanograms per deciliter test. Yes. Oh, you need to get that test up for sure. Get that test up, brother. All right. Does Proviron crash prolactin levels? No. I think that DHT can inhibit some of the estradiol-induced prolactin release. Unsure if Proviron would do the same because it's not DHT, although it's very similar, just not as potent. Yeah, serotonin 5-HT1A receptor related to all these conditions is irrelevant. Playing dead might work with these boys. Go playing daddy. Dream big. Found out androgen deprivation causes chronic histamine release, which then messes with the sleep-wake cycle, hence insomnia on finasteride. DHT is important, boys. Well, it definitely is, and if this is the case, I mean, histamine release, it causes all manner of problems. Like, yeah, study mast cell activation syndrome and read the subreddits. Those guys have all fucking manner of symptoms. And, messed up sleep is one of them. Finasteride and things like it cause sleep problems via a variety of mechanisms, but androgen deprivation is right up there. AB, under 30-minute call, could you also briefly discuss neurotransmitter agents, or is this solely hormone agents? Well, if you book a TRT protocol redesign and you're not on TRT, I'll refund you. Yeah, that's strictly for TRT. But if you are and you need help with your protocol, but you also have some questions about neuroactive agents, then sure, I can help you there. All right, Madcap, if someone crashed their SHBG due to high levels of what test, would maca root help to increase estrogen? No. Nope. No, not for sure where you're getting that from, man. No, not at all. Yeah, maca's inconsequential largely. Again, when, getting into hormones and realizing how powerful they are when you just inject them directly into your bloodstream or your body, I recognize that all this other stuff, like I had to take 20 compounds to keep my test around 900 when I was natural. Yep. And then I couldn't, then it stopped working. Then my test started going, and there was no other notable cause other than age. So, that was when TRT just became the obvious thing to do. Samuel, if someone needs higher TRT but have a problem controlling estrogen on lower TRT, how would they approach this? All the regular things, reduce body fat significantly as much as you can. Figure out why you're not aromatizing, or why you're aromatizing too much. And that could be you're not converting enough to DHT. Like if you had taken even salt palmetto, any of these 5-alpha reductase inhibitor supplements, then that could be part of the reason that this is happening. In which case you need to take oral DHT to upregulate 5-alpha reductase enzymes so that you take more of your test and make it to DHT instead of estradiol as much. Otherwise, though, don't take HCG in this case, and bring in either aromasin or these natural supplements like calcium B-glucarate and dial the stuff in, so that you can control estrogen, and manage it. Yeah, cerebral lysin for anhedonia may or may not be helpful. I don't think it would be a cure. But microdosing, I think would probably help to some extent. You will be in a trance for 5 years after. It'll be a kid like for years, overreacting and non-stoic. Okay. Interesting. Boys, source list. This is why it's so effective, and this is why I think it's really awesome and everybody should have it. We've sold 1,750 copies so far of this. Look, I had just ordered a bunch of enanthate, and it 8 vials of 10 milliliters of vial, which is more than you typically get, came to my doorstep in 4 days. Okay, I got a 20 milliliter vial of prop, which will last me a long time. That came to my doorstep. That took about a week and a half. I got 100 tabs of Proviron. I have 100 tabs of Cialis, right? Real powerful Cialis, actual Cialis. I've got DHT powder that'll last me the next 2 years. 2 years if I want to use it intermittently or use it daily or use it as a mild AI or use it for sexual optimization, use it for penile growth, make a cream out of it. All that's in the source list. But not to mention, if you need to circumvent your clinic, which I don't want to be the guy that suggests you do that, but sometimes you have to. You know, I have to circumvent my clinic to run a cycle. You know, I've got to circumvent my clinic for one reason or another. You know, if I just want to run 400 of prop a week with 300 of enanthate a week, I've got to circumvent my clinic. You know, I put together some of the most trusted, vetted sources for anabolics, hormone hacking agents, and ancillaries, including DHT and Proviron, ever. And I even list in it my favorite ones that you can get everything from. You don't even have to read the rest of it. There ends up being a link where you can vet 50 more sources where people are writing reviews about them. But the first couple sources are all you'll need for anything moving forward. And the great part is you'll have this forever. You know how much comfort I have knowing that, you know, I don't like Defy Medical, my clinic, they fucked up a couple things. And I had to tell them to hit the road. I'm so comfortable knowing that I have sources that I can easily, in about 2 minutes, order 5 vials of whatever testosterone, whatever HCG, whatever aromacin. We're talking about tablets, Cialis, Masteron, Primo, D-Ball, anything I would ever need ever. All in the source list, boys. Jim Maxim, is 150 milligrams Test E a week enough for most healthy men? I think so. Yeah, it might. I mean, it should be, but that doesn't mean that, like, if you take that and you're having problems, that you don't need to increase your dose, because you might have to increase your dose of testosterone. It's entirely possible. You know, look, I know guys that need to be on 300, 350 of testosterone, slightly more in very few cases, but people do. That's just TRT to them. So while 150 is pretty good, you know, for most guys, especially if you're starting out and you've not gotten the ARs used to a lot of testosterone, you know, yeah, start at 150. I mean, 150 is a great starting dose for TRT. I think definitely. Yeah. Now, if you're on this for a while and your estrogen's in range and, you know, you're taking DHT and pregnenolone, you're running a little bit of Cialis, and still you're having erection issues, might be time to go to 300. Might be time to go to 300, boys. Yeah, I'm telling you, might be time to go to 300. This is the thing about cycles, being on a cycle so far, is I've really only noticed benefits aside from acne, you know, which was from rubbing cream on my fucking shoulders for a month. A lot of it, a cycle level of cream. It had changed from like one part of my back to my right delt. Everything else has been great. Like, my blood work looks great. I feel great. My sexual function's better. I mean, better. Now I have to manage estrogen more aggressively. Fine. I'll take it. My gym performance is better. My cardio is better. I burn fat easier. I can obviously lift weights more and you know, therefore my physique is better. Yeah. Some people just need more testosterone. I'm not saying I'm one of those guys. I did fine at TRT doses, but it had to be above 150, really. If I look back, you know, above 150, I did better. You know, 250, even better. 350, even better. You know, 550 right now, even better. Piyush, will tests give me the masculine characteristics now, like wider and bigger bones? I don't know if it's going to change your skeletal structure. Wider shoulders, certainly if you're working out, and masculine facial features, yes, even DHT would do that. Well, DHT, well, not going to add a whole lot of bulk to you. I mean, DHT is largely a sculpting agent, really. But DHT does masculinize your facial features, if you could see it, meaning if your body fat's low enough for you to fucking be able to see it. But yeah, I mean, look, testosterone is the masculizing, precursor to the masculizing DHT. That's it. That's just it. And so testosterone in the skeletal tissues is going to provoke growth in the muscle tissues and in terms of muscle protein synthesis. So it's going to be easier for you to, under the presence of lifting heavy weights, build muscle, definitely, under the presence of testosterone. And then the masculine and sexual androgenic characteristics come when you have DHT in the picture, enough DHT in the picture. Yeah. Thoughts on RFK as a part of Trump government? I like it. I think he's great. I think he'll do a lot of great things, not the least of which is probably make it so that there's no limitations on peptides anymore. Yeah. And possibly remove some guardrails on some other stuff that maybe we want. If we could get enough people together and write RFK a fucking letter to force the pharmaceutical companies to either make DHT available as a pharmaceutical or Proviron here in the States, because it's not in the States as a pharmaceutical, then, maybe, but that's just wishful thinking. AB, what do you think is generally the necessary amount of estrogen needed to run Proviron to avoid crashing estrogen? It's going to be different for different people. And I don't think there's an estrogen number. I generally think like it depends on your TRT dose, in some sense, like, yeah, keeping on a lower TRT, regular 120 to 150 TRT dose, keeping the estrogen between 20 and 40 is going to be useful for you. That's going to be the best range for it to be in. Also, though, again, you can lower estrogen at the tissue level with calcium D-glucarate because you're clearing it from your system, but it's not going to affect the serum all that much. So that you could have 50 estradiol, but take calcium D-glucarate every day, and you're going to be in your window because at the tissue level, you don't have as much estradiol. Proviron is not that strong of an AI, though. So it's not that strong of an aromatase inhibitor. Now, if you're taking 75 milligrams a day, it will be, and it might crash everything. And you'll need more test with it, more test. I would say, whatever the situation is, just make sure you have enough testosterone if you're taking Proviron. And if you're not going to take a lot of tests, only take 12.5 milligrams Proviron a day. My pleasure, brother. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. I got some stuff that I've got to take care of. Sourceless Live, livecortex.com. Great questions. Thanks for the questions. Much more content coming this week. If you didn't watch the most recent videos on DHT acting as a sub for HCG, please go watch that video because I break down a really fucking fascinating paper showing how DHT upregulates luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, is a backdoor pathway for upregulating testicular function in the presence of suppressed LH. Really, really good video, and I think offers a lot of food for thoughts. Torque stack, boys, you guys know that I built a stack. I've been the guy before androgens talking about nootropics on the internet, effectively the grandfather of the discussion of the neuropharmacology of nootropics. I built my own. It's called Torque, and you can get it at livecortex.com. If you need to book me. I've got 3 or 4 slots open for the winter because I just booked another 6-month package yesterday, guys. Otherwise, boys, fucking rock on. Kick ass. I'll talk to you guys soon. Okay. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you.